Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Julio, and today we're going to do calculation drills. Ready? Let's go. Take a good look at these exercises. Try doing them by yourself before watching me, and then watch and compare. Let's go. 120 divided by 400 times 250 divided by 8%. First thing I want to do here is divide 400 by 8. Seems like the easier path to me. And if I divide 400 by 2, I get 200. If I divide it by 2, I get 50, I get 100. If I divide it by 2 again, I get 50. So this is 50 over 1%. Now I want to get rid of the zeros to make this easier. And I have, let's talk only about zeros. So 10 times 10 over 1 over 100, which is 10,000. Those are 4 zeros here. And this is 5 times 25 times 10,000. I know that 5 to the third is 125, so actually times 10,000. 125, so this is 125, 0,000. 1.25 million. And now I have $120 million divided by 1.25 million. Well, these millions cross each other out. I got 120 over 1.25. 1.25 is 5 over 4, so 120 million divided by 120 divided by this is 120 times 4 over 5. This is 12 times 10, which is 5 times 2, so these cross out, and I get 24 times 4, which is 96. Well, let's go through this slower. 80 plus 16. 20 times 4, 4 times 4. Okay? So this brings us to an answer of 96. Here's the next one. Take a good look at it and then we'll start. Now, if you've done this by yourself, then let's go. First thing I'm going to do here is 6% times 5 months is 30%. And so 30% over 3 gives us 10%. So now we have 10% times 45% times $1.4 times 850 million units. And the next step I want to take is forget about these. Actually, I want to forget about 45% and I want to take this 10% into account. I want to cross it out with this 0. So now I have $1.4 times 85 million units. And what I'm going to do is with this 45% is remember to, in the end, divide my result by 2 and subtract 10% of it. So that I'm going to get 50%. When I subtract 10% of it, I'm going to get 45%. Now, how am I going to reach 1.4 times 85 million? Well, I want to add 40% to this 85 million. What's 40% of it? I want to get 50% of 85 million minus 10% of 85 million. These seem easy. This is 42.5 million, half of this, and this is 8.5 million. Anyone can do this. If I want to subtract them, I'm going to get to $34 million. This is 1.4. Actually, this is 40% of 85 million. And now I want to add it to 85 million. So I get 119 million. Now I need to take these into account. 119 million divided by 2 is 120 minus half. So that brings me 120 divided by 2 minus half. That's 60 minus 0.5, 59.5 million. What's 10% of this? 5.95 million, or 6 million. So I want to take 6 million out of this, and it'll bring me to 53.5 million. If I want to add back this 0.05 that I rounded up, I'm going to get to $53.55 million. And so this will bring me to an answer of 53.55 million. And they're not exactly dollars, they're dollar unit months, but that's fine. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Here we have a market sizing estimation tree. This is a tree structure that I use to estimate the market size for televisions in the USA. And all of the assumptions are here already, all of the calculations are here already, all I have to do is calculate them. So let's go. I want to start from left to right. So here let's start with, well, 3% here already, 1.5, 1 over 1.5. We've seen this before. 1 over 1.5 is 2/3, which is roughly 67%. And so here we have 70%. 320 million divided by 2.5 is 320 times 2 over 5. Okay? 320 divided by 2 times 2 is 640. This divided by 5. 600 divided by 5 is 120. 40 divided by 5 is 8. So we've got 128 million households in the US. Sounds about right. This is less than half, more than a third. Next, 95%. Well, this seems a little bit hard. I want to ignore this 95% and I'll remember to subtract 5% of this in the end. Now 128 million times 2.5 TVs per household. Well, this is fortunate. 320 million TVs times 70%. I want to turn 70% into 50% plus 20%. Well, half of this is 160. 10% of this is 32, so 20 is 64. 64 brings us to 224 million units sold. 224 million times 350. This is going to be, well, let's think of it roughly first. 224 million times 7, that's going to be roughly 140 billion dollars. Let's do it completely now. Let me just erase this. Oh, it's going to be a hard one. 224 million times 350. Well, let me get rid of the zeros first. And we're going to get 224 times 30 plus 224 times 5. And we're going to multiply this by 10 million. Okay? And it's got to be close to 140 billion. Actually, I didn't divide it by 2, so 70 billion. Okay? Let's go. 520, we get a 2 here. 510, we get a 2, we get a 1 here. 5 times 2, 10, 11. So this is 1120. Now we get a 0 here, a 0 here. And now we get 3 times 4, 12. 3 times 2, 6. So here's a 7, 6. We want 6, 7, 2, 0 to increase this. 4, 8, 7. So this should be 7, 8, 4, 0 times 10 million brings us to 78.4 billion. Okay? So this brings us to this 78.4 billion market, and we want to subtract 5%. 5% is, let's make ourselves some room here before we start. Okay, so to get to 5% of this, I want to find 50% and then divide it by 10. Shouldn't be so hard. 78.4 billion. Half of this is half of 70, which is 35 billion. Half of 8, which is 4 billion. Half of 0.4, which is 0.2 billion. This is going to bring us to 39.2 billion. 10% of this is 3.92 billion. And 78.4 minus 3.9, 7, this is a 5, 4, 7, 74.5. So the answer to this should be 74.5 billion approximately. Okay, let's move on to the next one. While I erase everything, take a good look at it, try doing it yourself. You may pause this video if you want. $79 million times 14,000. First thing I want to do is get rid of this bunch of zeros. If we merge them, we get a B, stands for billion. First step here, next step here, 80 times 15, 100, 1,200. So it's going to be something close to 1,200, slightly below. Now what I want to do, 80 times 14 minus 14, okay? 80 times 4, 320, 80 times 10, 800. Add these up, we get 1,120 minus 14, 1,106, 1.101, comma 106 times billion. 1 billion or 1.106 trillion, and this is the result. Now take a look at the next one while I erase everything. Ready? Go. First thing I want to do here, get rid of these zeros. Got this? Move on then. 54 times 18. How am I going to do this? Well, let's turn this into 54 times 20 minus 108, which is 54 times 2. Okay? What's 54 times 20? 50 times 20, 1,000. 4 times 20, 80. 54 times 20, 1,080 minus 108, which is actually 10% of this. I could have thought of this as 54 times 20 minus 10% of this. Did not think this through previously. So here we have a 7, 2, 7, 9, 0. So 972 times 10 million brings us to 920 million. This is 9.72 billion. Okay? I hope this helped you guys. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.